So my name's Alan, this is my wife Carol. We've been sailing since we got married, 1976. My wife is the more experienced sailor. Our first sail together was on a sunfish shortly before we got married.
He said, I know how to sail this thing. We were in the water in 5 minutes.
Yeah, so we started there.
I began a new division of labor.
And we've been chartering in the various parts of the Caribbean for 30 years. Chartered for a long time before we bought our first cruising boat, which was a Sabre 402. And bought a bigger boat with more conveniences to try to extend our sailing life, as opposed to taking the more common journey, which is to abandon the blowboat, as they call them, and adopt a trawler. So we resisted that. We're now sailing a second season in our Hylas 56 with a Leisure Furl electric boom.
Well, I said we've chartered an awful lot of different styles of boats, mostly sloop rigs. We've had drop the main and tie it on a 50-foot Beneteau, which was, for the two of us, a lot of work. A lot of work in a blow especially. We've had an in-mast furler on a charter boat. We've had stack packs. Our own boat was a drop and tie type of mainsail with
Lazy Jacks.
Lazy Jacks, which made it a little bit easier, but he was going up on the foredeck. Reefing was always a nuisance because you had to go on the foredeck, and you know, I didn't want him slipping and falling. Then we found out we wanted to go with a bigger boat, but most of the time we're sailing just the two of us. And I was thinking, well, how can we go bigger with just the two of us? We need to have a few more things to help us out, especially as we age. And we came across Leisure Furl, and they convinced us that an electric boom furler would be a very good solution to that problem. We could go bigger, we could get a bigger sail, we would have more driving power on a big boat, and I could do it too. I could do it without him if I had to.
And in some ways it's easier than my 40-footer with the aids that we have, because controlling a mainsail, which was a big part of the project on the old boat, is now just a matter of getting the angle right. And now she's got it down where she knows how much to let that halyard slip, how much back pressure to put on it. So we're getting some rolls that look like a Cuban cigar when we're done. It's really quite satisfying. As you talk to more people, you realize the first thing was, well, you can't have it all. Well, the reality is I think you can. You can have the ease of sail handling, and you can have a real sail with real battens, full roach, powerful, you know, that's your engine, you know, and so, and it's easy to handle. So for me, after you got over the almost religious fervor that exists out there about, oh, I'd never do that, or I'd always do this, or you can't do this, or you can't do that, it turned out that we got a real main that you could put on any boat and be happy to have it. And as we approach our mid-60s, we see our sailing life extended because I'm not up there wrestling with this huge piece of cloth that usually wins the battle. So we've been quite happy with it.
And we did have a good design team. We had the people at Leisure Furl talking to our sailmaker, talking to our mast maker, and as a result, we have a sail that goes up and down and doesn't chafe on the boom, and it goes up and down the feeder nicely, and we finally got what we want. And I really appreciate the fact that all of these people will talk to each other and plan this out so that it does work, and it makes our lives so much easier. I'm sort of the one in the cockpit in charge of letting the sail down. There is a little bit of a learning curve. I have to control how quickly I release the halyard, and since we have the electric furler, I'm also pushing a button and having the furler motor roll up the sail neatly, and I think I've got it pretty good now. I haven't had anybody yelling at me in a long time. This whole season I've done very well.
Yeah, the learning curve is steep, but it's quick, and after you do it a couple times, you know, everybody makes an issue of, well, you got to get the boom angle right. Well, after you've done a bunch of times, you can eyeball it, and you know you're pretty much right. And one of the Leisure Furl reps gave me a good trick. He said to me, just look at the battens, make sure the boom is parallel to your batten, it's going to work out pretty well. And he's absolutely right. So the other thing I didn't realize until I owned this boat for a year was the dimensions are completely different, and the most important one is I could not reach the mid portion of the boom from my cockpit. I'm just not tall enough. So it's not an option to do traditional, slab and tie reefing. You can't get there. You're either going to do single line reefing, you're going to have a Park Avenue boom where everything spills into it, you're going to have a stack pack or something like that, which we sailed in the Caribbean multiple times. In, I don't know, my experience, I felt like I never really got, the sail was never down. It was in this big bag, and the bag was a bit of a sail on its own. So we find that this is so clean, and when you don't want windage, it's gone. And we pull it down so we got a handkerchief size piece of sail left, and at the end of the day, I'll pull it out of the track and tuck it into the boom and pull a cover over it, and it's a done deal. We like it, and it didn't take long to get used to. You hear all the stories about, oh, well, if you don't have the angle right, well, okay. There's a right angle. There's a correct angle. It's no mystery. It's not a secret. You don't have to know the secret handshake to get it. Everybody knows what it is. Put the boom there and it'll do what it's supposed to do.
I will be honest with you. He didn't trust me at first. He didn't trust me to have the right tension. He was up on the foredeck, standing next to the mast, watching the roll. And I got yelled at once or twice our first season.
I like the redundancy that was built into it, so that if this happens, you can still get it down. If you do this, you can still get it in. If you want to roll it up, you can still do that. If all else fails, you can just pull it down and tie it up. And I was one of those folks that had the original prejudice that you go and you look at the setup. Oh, you got to drill a hole in my mast, and then you look at the sculpted fittings that come with it, and you realize that that's probably the strongest spot on your mast. And if you look up your mast, you realize that you got about 22 holes in your mast going up to the top, and this is just another one, and it's so well reinforced that it really, you can tell that the kinks have been worked out by a lot of folks who have gone before you. So we've been happy with the post-installation support, and we made a lot of good friends in this Forespar crew.
And I also like the fact that when the weather starts to pipe up and it's time to reef, I can get my way and reef sooner rather than later. I don't like to be heeled over too much. I don't like to have the boat feel overpowered by a 20-knot breeze or more. And I'd rather get that main rolled up part way and feel more comfortable, and actually we speed up anyway. And with the reefing system, it's just like furling the sail, it's infinite. We can do a little, we can do a lot more, we can do whatever you want. It's just a question of how much I let down the halyard and how much I roll it up. And it makes it very easy, and it's easy to pull the reef out too. It's really just pull the halyard and up it goes, and that's it. So there's nobody going up there and unhooking anything. There's, no muss, no fuss. It's very straightforward and very simple. It's like the same way you would reef your roller furling head sail. It's really basically the same concept. So it's very easy to do when the wind starts to pick up, and I really appreciate that when I have to do it myself.